December 16th of '89, Mike Bellotti's first year in Eugene as the offensive coordinator. Ducks in Tulsa in the Independence Bowl. Their first bowl appearance in over 26 years. Senior Chris Oldham had two early interceptions, but the Ducks trailed 24-10 late in the third. That's when the comeback began. Directed by the junior then, Bill Musgrave. He found Joe Reitzig a 9-yard touchdown. Then in the fourth, well, Musgrave tied things up when he rushed for his first career touchdown. Then less than 4 minutes to play. He almost gave the game away, fumbling the football. But of course it was ruled down. Greg McCallum came in and kicked the game-winning field goal from there, 27-24, and Musgrave named the offensive player of the game. So much has changed, obviously, since 1989. The Ducks now the envy of a lot of programs across the country.
Yeah, you know, me coming from Colorado, you coming from Wazoo, you know, I think that it's Oregon set up the ideal model to follow, you know, especially if you can get a donor like Phil Knight.
That is a big key. You got the pocketbooks kind of rolling in the dough, too. So the Ducks may be the envy of many, but how about our guys getting to watch the game without paying some $3,000 to get in like some fans have on StubHub? Tom Ward and Dirk Weiser now join us live from Scottsdale.
Yeah, actually, Dirk stepped away, and we got Derrick Deadwiler, a former Oregon receiver, here as we're going to break down some tape on the Auburn and Oregon in this game. And Derrick, it really seems like there are two high-powered offenses here. And I mean, I guess it could be a shootout, but you've played enough football. Sometimes it's not what it seems.
It's never what it seems. You think about kind of the X's and O's and how a spread system is devised and how it's evolved over time. A lot of times you look at it and it's all about controlling the space. And if the space don't get controlled in this game, it's going to be some big explosion plays throughout.
The receiving core in this game for both teams, the one guy, the go-to guy for Oregon is Jeff Mayle, 68 catches, 943 yards and 12 touchdowns.
You know, he's a special treat. It kind of reminds me of guys like Joe Reitzig, and he reminds me of guys like
Mr. Hands, Joe Reitzig.
You know, Mr. Dependable. But, you know, he's kind of a little different because he likes to score along with it. Joe was kind of the guy who you knew you could get that possession from, so we enjoy watching him.
And Mayle has really sort of taken over that receiving core. I mean, nobody else, I think the next leading receiver is Lavoisier, Tuane. He's got half the catches.
Exactly. But, you know, and what's interesting is that when you need a play, I mean, I still think back to the Arizona game last year when we needed that touchdown and he caught that one in the back of the end zone. Yep. I think that play was what set him apart from a lot of players that we've seen in the past.
Darvin Adams, 48 grabs, 909 yards for Auburn.
Scary. You know, you think about guys who kind of help spark an offense. Darvin Adams is that guy I see as kind of he's a spark helping them guys, you know, taking off in that regard.
Well, these two guys just one piece in their respective offenses. You know, like you said, it might be a shootout, but I mean, what are your thoughts?
You know, I'm thinking that, you know, who starts the game fast, controls the line of scrimmage, really does the necessary things to keep the team going vertically, you're going to see that really set up. Now, as I'm objective in it, I believe Oregon's going to do what they got to do. But, you know, you look at the way these teams are both organized, they're very similar, and they like to really go after the big plays early.
All right. Well, it has been a long road for Oregon. I know you've been part of that road, and we'll get to that in a minute. But in 1989, the Ducks went to the Independence Bowl, and at the time, somewhat inconsequential. Duck fans were certainly excited, but it was one of those lower-tier bowls. And it did, though, serve as the first step on the road to lead Oregon to Scottsdale in the BCS national title game.
A keeper for Musgrave. He'll walk right in unmolested.
Looking back on Oregon's history, it's fairly easy to spot the beginning of the journey that got the football program to this point. In 1989, the Bill Musgrave-led Ducks went to Shreveport and got Oregon's first bowl win in 26 years. But getting there was the trick. Then athletic director Bill Byrne committed to buying 14,500 tickets to help the Ducks secure the invite to the Independence Bowl. '89 was the same year that Mike Bellotti arrived on campus, hired by Rich Brooks as the offensive coordinator. Back then, the football offices were adjacent to Mac Court.
We didn't have great facilities back then. We dressed in a locker room that the coaches had to dress half at a time because you couldn't all fit in there, and there were literally nails on the shelves instead of hangers or anything like that.
The following year, the Ducks went 8-4 and lost in the Freedom Bowl, but the torch had been lit. Back-to-back bowl seasons energized the fan base and allowed Oregon to begin work on the Casanova Center. The new training facility and offices were a cog on the wheel that kept things rolling in the early 90s.
When I got here, people didn't believe they could win. And that's just something you have to do. You have to get over the hump. You have to have some success to breed success.
Sets up, looks, throws toward the corner of the end zone. It is intercepted! Intercepted! The Ducks have the ball!
And then Oregon got the success it needed with the 1994 season and subsequent trip to the Rose Bowl.
20! The 10! Touchdown! Can he win?
The next year, Autzen began selling out on a regular basis. The Ducks posted back-to-back 9-win seasons, and following the humiliation of the Cotton Bowl loss to Colorado in 1996, another turning point, as Nike founder Phil Knight and Mike Bellotti first discussed the idea of an indoor practice facility.
Phil came up to me at a party after the game, which was a difficult party because I wasn't very happy, and he said to me, "What'll it take to get us to the next level?" And I said, "An indoor practice facility."
The program began to pick up even more steam in the late 90s as the Mashofsky Center project was complete and the Joey Harrington-led teams capped off the upward swing with a Fiesta Bowl win. With Autzen selling out to over 100% of capacity, Oregon expanded it in 2002, increasing revenue with the addition of 32 luxury boxes. That simply fed Oregon's contribution to the college football arms race, as the Ducks have continued to raise the bar in the area of facilities. But it all started with the administration of the late 80s.
In terms of saying we need to reinvest in our facilities. So when we had success, we didn't go crazy. We went crazy with building and investing in facilities here that could make us better in the future.
Now, well, Derrick, Mike Bellotti credits the locker room that they did the remodel with raising the bar, and Kirk Herbstreit from ESPN said something interesting earlier this year when they were covering the Civil War. He said touring the facilities at Oregon are like taking a tour through NASA. It has really changed. Tell me about when you were recruited back in the early 90s.
Oh, when I was recruited at University of Oregon, they recruited me on the Lynn Casanova Center. They took me into the locker room, they blasted MC Hammer over the loudspeakers and said, "How would you feel to come and enjoy University of Oregon?" And I tell you, it was the biggest thing I had ever seen, you know, considering I went on trips to Arizona State, which is here, and I went on to University of Pacific, but it was nothing like Oregon at the time. And now I go on these tours and I walk around. It's like going into literally an amusement park, and you kind of see what these kids have available to them. I tell my daughter, I talk about legacy, and I just thoroughly enjoy every time I go to U of O.
Well,
it's great.
Like Mike Bellotti said in that package, I mean, they started this investment some 21 years ago, and I think now we're finally seeing the payoff. I mean, they've come close before, but they have now begun to be recognized as the, you know, along with the top programs in the nation, and certainly now just a day away from maybe a historical win. Thanks for joining us, Derrick.
No problem. Appreciate
All right.
it.
Well, we are on the home stretch of this BCS Bound special live from Arizona. But when we come back, you might have your favorite moment of the season. So do we. Plays of the year, number 6 through 1, coming up. Plus, an encore presentation of the Oregon football team's season highlights, cut to the hit song Return to the Quack. We'll be back to wrap up BCS Bound after this.
Oh my God.